should be live.
I think we are.
Okay, I think as soon as that green light happens, we are live.
Yay.
I'm Lonnie.
I'm Amber.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity
Oh,
Flux out of
yeah,
Hickson,
yeah.
Tennessee. And this is, I want to make this a regular thing. We review everything we watch. Like we can't watch
so
a TV.
cool.
Like we watched an episode of Cops the other day. We're gonna have to, review it.
We turn the media down. That's probably a thing.
But yeah, let's mute that.
We don't want to echo ourselves.
But we were doing this live. We're gonna review the second episode of season 3 of Rick and Morty that premiered last night on Adult Swim.
Yes.
We watched it today on the Adult Swim website, which is really cool of Adult Swim to do that because every other site you have to have like a cable login.
Yeah.
And think about how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have cut the cord, have gotten rid of cable because it's just so freaking overpriced.
It is very overpriced.
I mean, it did get to the point where we were watching 3 hours of cable a week.
Yeah.
And paying something like $120 for it. And it's just, what's the point? But anyway, Adult Swim had it set up to where even without, just free, you could get on their website. And I guess, they get their money through advertising regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. So I'd like to see more places go that route. But Adult Swim is being the leader and realizing that probably a lot of their audience doesn't have cable.
Right.
And luckily enough, we were able to watch the episode 2, which is kind of, sort of the season premiere, but not really.
Yeah.
Because this is the first one that is airing, consecutively with all the others. The other one released back on April Fool's Day, which was almost 4 months ago.
I know.
Like 4 months ago tomorrow. And this episode, in my opinion, which is called Rickmancing the Stone, and this episode, to me, wasn't quite on par with that first one.
Well, no, because the first one was a teaser. I mean, it was a whole episode, but it was a teaser for the entire season.
Yeah, it was the setup.
Yeah, so
And,
of course it's
it had the whole
good.
deal with the Szechuan sauce, and, the whole thing went viral, and I mean, really, that episode...
It's going to be hard to top that. I mean, you can't expect them to top that, really.
Well, I mean, we'd waited almost 2 years. Like, you hadn't been waiting quite that long because you just found out about it months ago, but...
Well, I mean, no, I knew about it longer. I just wasn't keeping up with it.
I actually found out about Rick and Morty like 2 weeks before the season finale. So imagine what I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, dear God. But, it was like over a year and a half between seasons. So, but this one picks up almost right where the last one left off. And they end up spending the entire episode in like a Mad Max style universe.
Yes.
And it was absolutely hilarious. Favorite part of the episode.
Oh.
Well, the basic premise of the whole episode was they were running from them. They ended up becoming friends with the scavenger group.
They weren't going to become friends until they had that thing that Rick wanted. What was it?
He had like a little flake of stuff that he was looking for. It was like a radioactive isotope, like a material. And then come to find out, in their camp, they had like a big basketball-sized chunk of it.
Yes.
And he wanted it.
All of a sudden, he was ready to stay because the kids wanted to stay because they're, having a hard time with the divorce and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, the kids are just wanting to leave Earth and go stay there.
Yeah.
Wherever. And so, that was the real funny part. So they end up staying there, and Rick goes back to Earth through the portal and actually makes robots of Morty and Summer, which was freaking hilarious because he did a really good job, but they kept having like weird boot up issues and stuff and talking real funny.
Yes. Or they'd be like, no, go with your emotion. He's like, I don't want y'all telling her that.
Well, what was really messed up is like Beth, their mom, didn't even really think anything of it because she's so out of touch.
Yes, because she's having a hard time with the divorce.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it doesn't even
register. Great.
But, like, Summer actually marries a guy there, and it was kind of funny because it was one of those classic guys with like the full helmet, you can't see his face, and she finally gets him to take his helmet off, and he's like just a regular looking dude. I mean,
with a
he's
mustache.
Like, yeah, he's got like
up on that mustache,
and it's a really funny looking mustache. It's like one that's like split down the middle, and then it's like just a part here and a part there.
Like,
I'd like to shave my mustache like that.
You have a mustache? That was her exact face.
She called it. She said it was like him wearing a hat on a hat.
Yes, yes.
But
so funny.
yeah, that was really. It was weird because Rick, by the end of the episode, the funny part was right at the beginning. He injects Morty's arm with the. It's like he basically has this like syringe little thing. And he draws DNA out of like this big muscled up arm that's hanging on a spike. It's from somebody that's dead. Mm-hmm. And injects it into Morty's arm. And the thing breaks. Like Morty slaps it out of his hand with a strong arm because the arm has a mind of its own. Mm-hmm. And so he ends up slapping it out of his hand and breaks the syringe. So Morty runs around.
With his huge ass arm.
Yeah, with just this one big arm, and it's like carrying him around like a freaking gorilla.
Like when Quagmire, he discovered the internet porn and he came out with a one big arm. That's exactly what it looked like.
It is. I was actually thinking about that. I was going to make a joke, but I was like, no, it's too easy. Oh, but
Which actually leads to my favorite part. I can't help but love how it had that mind of its own, the arm did. So it was constantly looking like a puppet. This was its head.
It's like it had eyes on it.
And it was
and he was like communicating with it. Because I remember there was that one part. He's like, if this isn't over and we're still gonna have to go kill people, make a fist, and it like made a fist. So like the arm had like wanted revenge on the person who had killed, I guess the arm's owner.
Yes.
And so they end up going on like this quest. And it was even funnier because they finally found the guy, and the arm holds him under in a bathtub until like he supposedly dies. Mm-hmm. And then the arm thinks it's over, and so the arm shrinks back to normal. The arm dies, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so like Rick shows up, and he's sitting there watches the whole thing. He's like, oh, don't mind me, just do your thing. And like about that time, like turns out the guy's not dead, and he like starts coughing in the water. And he's like, oh, we got to finish this, Morty. And so like, he goes over there and like basically grabs Morty's hand and pushes it down on the guy and drowns him. And he's like, yeah, we both share the blame.
Yes. Now we both share the blame.
Because like Rick didn't even care. But yeah, this is like a really fun episode. I mean, you can't spend half an hour talking about it like you can Game of Thrones because there's nowhere near the intricate detail, but still
and that it's a shorter episode anyway.
Everybody was expecting Rick and Morty to come out back in like March or April. Mm-hmm. Like April Fools, whenever they said they were doing a season premiere, like everybody was like, oh, you're full of crap. But the guys actually came back and said, it was supposed to premiere like back in March or April, but they didn't want to rush it. There was a lot of creative differences that the creators had, and they were like, we're not going to rush this and it be crap. We're really going to take our time with this and make it a really funny show because it's the best, and they're giving us all the time we need. And there go the cats. It just wouldn't be a video if the cats weren't chasing each other upstairs.
Pretty much.
But yeah, they said they took that extra time. So, in your opinion, what do you think? You think that them taking their time and it paid off?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because this was a really good episode.
When artists of any kind have a creative difference and they take their time to put something out, it usually comes out to be something really epic.
Yeah.
I mean, if they rush it, it's usually crap.
Yeah, it's like...
or it's not as good, rather.
I'm actually happy. It sucked having to wait like 18 months to 2 years for, Rick and Morty Season 3. Mm-hmm. But they gave us the first episode in April just to kind of whet everybody's appetite. And was like, okay, yeah, we got some. And then we waited and waited and waited. And, people watched that episode. I watched it over and over and over just to stay with it. I was like, this episode's really good. It's worth watching. So we watched it.
Yeah.
Now this one's come out, and it didn't seem like no time. It popped up, and here we watched it today, and good times.
Good.
But I mean, I looked at a YouTube channel last night that it was actually Adult Swim. You know, it was the YouTube channel that was showing Adult Swim's live feed or whatever, and it actually had 68,000 live viewers right then. 68,000.
Crazy.
Like, we're good to get 20. Of course, you know, we also don't have Rick and Morty either. So, we kind of do. I wasn't even going to acknowledge that. I wasn't even going to acknowledge it. It was just going to be like a little running joke.
Whatever.
But, yeah, Rick and Morty, Rickmancing the Stone was the title of the second episode of season 3. It was an amazing show. Like I said, I want to give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. The season premiere was a perfect 10.
Oh, well, yeah.
It couldn't have been any better.
Right.
And this was a 9.5. I'll give it a 9.5. It was really close, but it just didn't. There was just that little bit. Maybe it was just the hype. You know, the measure. You know, it wasn't going to measure up to that first episode.
That's exactly it. It was the hype.
Because we were just so looking forward. You had 2 years to wait, and it just, there you are. And when it happened, it was magic. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it could have gone the other way. It could have been crap.
It could have been crap.
But it was the perfect episode to fix everybody's weight. Now, this one, I think, I'm looking forward to a lot of 9s and 9.5s this season. I think this is probably going to be, so far, it's the best season yet. Mm-hmm. There's always, I think there's like 10 or 12 episodes this season. But there's always 1 or 2 episodes in a season, the previous 2 anyway, that wasn't quite up there.
Good, yeah.
Like, they might be like 6.5s or 7s. And you're like, you know, if you're going to watch the whole season, it wouldn't bother me if you skip them, you know.
That's fine.
Because they don't really tie into the overall narrative. They're not really funny. I don't know. But anyway, final thoughts on the episode.
Are you finally done?
I am. I'm just sort of rambling on about Rick and Morty.
Let's see. I would probably give it a 9 too, just because it's not quite as good as the first season premiere. Mm-hmm. But with this episode, though, you can really tell like the characters are going to really develop more in this season.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, because the whole divorce thing, like even in this episode, you can tell Summer's attitude has totally changed about everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything. And Morty's not there yet, but he's going to get there.
Well,
you know,
I don't think you've quite seen all the episodes of the first 2 seasons, but
what does that have to do with shit?
Well, I'm saying the character development that happened up to this point. There's
a lot of character development that's happened from just last season to now. So, first season really ain't got shit to do with it, to be honest.
Well, I was doing comparisons. Like, Summer was always, like, there was the episode where they were doing interdimensional cable, and they had the headset that showed them different realities.
Yeah,
that really sunk in for her that every other reality in which her parents were successful, she didn't exist.
Yeah, she really hated that.
And
she was really hating on that one.
Yeah, so I think that was the start of like the resentment, and then whenever they divorced, it just sent her off the deep end.
I'm sure.
So it was almost like she could see it coming, but when it finally happened, it was like,
for that matter, they saw how better they were without each other. The parents did. I mean,
well, at the same time, remember at the end of that episode, though, they
did.
You know, they ended up like reconciling right at the very end because he was like on that police chase. He ended up running to her house saying how he regretted all of his decisions and everything.
So is that some foreshadowing? You think maybe they're going to get back together?
Well, there was the part later in this episode where she said she was going to go calling. And Rick got all pissed off at the robots.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe that.
All right. Well, that's our review. I really don't want to spend half an hour talking Rick and Morty. I don't think that's possible.
I mean, we could, but...
Yeah, I feel like we'd be repeating ourselves in parts. But anyway, have we got any chat? Just by some weird chance?
Last I looked, we didn't.
I mean, this is like an unadvertised, and your phone crapped.
No,
okay.
It's not crapped. I just, it back up, maybe. I don't know.
We're trying, everybody. Just in case we do have a little.
No.
Nope, we're good. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this. I just wanted to make sure we wasn't missing anybody. I'm Lonnie.
I'm Amber.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux out of Hickson, Tennessee. Keep in mind, August 19th, we're going to have a big event where we're going to be giving away not one, but 2 pairs of 3-day passes to Wizard World Nashville. And hopefully we're going to have T-shirts and stuff. And
it's going to be fun.
I'm not 100% on the T-shirts. They're trying to get a bunch more in and have them to us in time, but they're not 100% on.
Okay.
But we're gonna have that. We're gonna have like a big subscriber drive and all kinds of ways to win those tickets. So if you're in the Chattanooga, Hickson, Red Bank, North Georgia, Northeast Alabama, whatever areas, and you want to go to Wizard World Nashville, come see us at Infinity Flux August 19th, and I'm sure we'll do a dedicated video for that, probably this weekend. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see everybody next week for another Rick and Morty review.